Or Chapter 10, the Judge Advocate General funded the legal education program. The General, the Judge Advocate General, Judge Advocate General with the responsible for selecting up to 25 Army officers with each fiscal year with a competitive base, attending with the regular, with the course, instruction, and leading with the JD, with the bachelor's of laws, with the degree, with the civil law school, through the FLEP. Funded legal education program. Course normally with the academic year with the government expenses with the Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 2004 with the Judge Advocate General with the directed funded legal education program of their assignment during the period of attending the law school with the waiting on assignment at the point with the Judge Advocate General Corps officer for the selected with the federal funded legal education program and the detail of the Judge Advocate General Corps will comply with the provisions of this regulation. 10.2. With non-waivable eligibility requirements, so applicants must be U.S. citizens active with the active with the duty list with the commission with the Army officer with the grade with the 01 to 03 with applying with the time of the funded legal education program selection active with the traditional Army, National Guard, U.S. Army Reserve soldiers with the eligible for the program Army Regulation 621.1. Applicants must also have with the graduate accredited with the college, university, baccalaureate with the equivalent degree with the have not less than 2 years with more than 6 years with the active with the duty with the ADL active with the duty list, including prior active with the activity warrant officer with the enlisted service with the being served with the grade 01 through 03 with the time the legal training commences. Legal training commences first day of the formal classroom instruction in the law school with a qualified with the appointment of the Judge Advocate General Corps according to the requirements of Army Regulations 601-100. After successfully completing law school, have with a secret security clearance. 10.3. The law school admission test with the funding the legal education program. Applicant must take the law school admission test with the half the due the same with the test administrative with the 4 time with each for the year with the designated test center throughout the world. Law school admission council with the 662 Penn Street North, Newtown, Pennsylvania 1894-00998 or lsac.org. Following procedure 7 of the law school admission test of the applicant responsible for arranging with the take for the law school admission test for the own expense the applicant with the sending the copy of the law school admission test scores directly to the office of the General Advocate General Corps personal employment planning training office for the tenant with the field funding legal education program administered for the 2200 Army with the Pentagon, Washington D.C. 2031-02200 for the funding legal education program selection board conveys selected board will not consider the applicant without legal school admission test. Applicants may take the legal school admission test if they desire, but they must provide the legal school admission test with the score of the selection board. 10.4. Applicant procedures. Apply for the detail of the Judge Advocate General Corps for the fund of the funded legal education program with a written memorandum format in accordance with the Army Regulation 2550, Chapter 2, with the submitted with the original applications for the applicant with the training with the command of first colon 06 with the endorsement, General Officer with the endorsement, not required for the war endorsed for the application following with the administration with the Office of the General Advocate Judge General Personal Planning Training Office of the 2200 Army Pentagon, Washington D.C. 2031-02200 with the ring and spiral bunnies document protected with a non-serum paper to discourage applicant material with the will not be returned to the applicant with the submit with a duplicate endorsed application for the Commander U.S. Army Human Resource Command Lieutenant 1600 Spearhead Division Avenue, Fort Knox, Kentucky 4012-2 with the applicant appear with the Carrier Management Division Human Resource Command with the will and jersey with the applicant with the forward endorsement Personal Planning Training Office AHRC Army Human Resource Command will not process application lacking with the chain with the command endorsement applicant packet will include applicant's telephone number to DSN commercial current home and address military mailing address military E-type email address the home applicant for the personal planning training officer the all chain with the address of the telephone number to official transcript of the college level the higher education transcript of the class name with the applicant available with the officer with the evaluation reports academic evaluation reports are discouraged unless the officer has received the officer evaluation reports a description of legal study with completely with legal experience with the civilian military life of the day with expected return to the United States if applicable. Application move motivation attending law school with applying with the funded legal education program applicant may list of any of the special circumstances the selection board should consider the limited motivation statements with a one-page length with as part of the applicant memorandum list of law schools which applicant has applied with will apply with the current department and with the Army official photograph of the legal OST Legal school admissions test. Let's go over the date of the test. For the applicant must submit with the application within legal school admission test score. Must provide a score separately before the selection board convey the total to the active with the federal service statement. The file with the on 1st of September year with the will have the number of years and months of the active with the federal commission serve with the top of the number of years with the number of months prior to active with the warrant office and listed serve with the total number of years and the number of months total active federal service. Applicant should calculate the active with federal service of the year of the legal training will begin if the applicant selected the funded legal education program. The date of the location, supervisor judge advocate interview to describe in the paragraphs 10-4C with along with the same name. Supervisor judge advocate for the conducting of the interview. A statement of the application has at least one secret clearance. Current board office of the record brief for the submission of the regular office record brief for the discharge of the current DA Form 705 of the Army Physical Test, the scorecard, aviation's office of request with voluntary permanent disqualification, aviations of the process later in the select of the funded the legal education program, CAR 600-105 and 614-100. Letters of recommendations is submitted with the support with the funded legal education program. Application letters of recommendations are not required if included that applicants are encouraged to submit no more than 3 letters of recommendation, pass raters for the team raters of the discouraged comments for the each for the OERs. Office evaluation report will be considered by the board. Supervisor judge advocate acting with the supervisor judge advocate applicant command must be personally interviewed with the applicant with the interview with supervisor judge advocate make with the comments with the concern with the applicant with the motivation thing with the law school with the motivation serve with the career with the judge advocate potential with the judge advocate military bearing sincerity with the general physical opinion with the condition of the overall community skill with the reputation and with the command any other matters considering appropriate use of the format provided with the personal planning training office provide the numerical ranking with the office comparison with the other applicants with appropriate since assessment applicant with the directive of the personal planning training office the supervisor judge advocate will not forward the assessment with the applicant with the applicants money be received with the applicant's career management branch personal planning and training office no earlier than the 1st of August and no later than 1st of November applicant year and of the applicant year will not be accepted the personal planning training office the applicant branch after the November 1st for 1st of November. 1005 selection of law school funding a legal education program selectees must apply to be accepted to the law school of the United States accredited with the ABA with the selected with the normally intent with the institution state legal resident with the institution grant state in state with tuition rates for the out of state with the students with the pay all expenses with the incurred with applying to the law school with the judge advocate general with the term in the law school with the selectee with the 10 with the native director the selectees appointed with additional schools. 10-6 assignments upon receipt of the notice of the personal planning training offer the applicant have selected the detail of the judge advocate general corps with the regulation commander have the jurisdiction over the applicant with the issue with the assignment of the instruction of the director with the judge advocate general with the 10 with the law school with the officer with the assignment of the U.S. Army with the student with the detachment building with 5450 with the storm with the Thurmwood soldier service center with the Fort Jackson, South Carolina 29-227. All assignments are with the applicability purpose of the assignment of the funding of legal education officer Willow 10 with the law school with the quorum with the standard academic year calendar without acceleration or deceleration unless the judge advocate general makes exemption of an individual case. Each officer will perform on-job training under the supervision of supervisor, judge advocate, legal officer of the designated with the judge advocate when in the school is non-session of the training of the mandatory during the summer vacation period during other breaks in the school year with the 5 days along with the judge advocate made the direct officer with the performing the OJT. 10-7 the evaluation reports after each of the academic session with each of the academic year with the officer will send the law school to transcript copy with the grade of the report issued with the law school with the director with the personal planning training officer within 180 days of the graduation officer send with the consolidated with the transcript of all the law school work with the notation over the degree conferred with the personal planning training officer. The transcript will show with the office class and standing if available. Transcript of the grade point report with addition with the DA Form 2125 of the report of training agency submitted to the command of the U.S. Army Human Resource Command of 1600 Spearhead with the Division Avenue, Fort Knox, Kentucky 24012 2 with the officer may submit the DA Form 2125 2 with the HRC with the OPLL with the first academic training, legal training with the commencement of the semester with the core of the upon conclusion of the academic term and thereafter. Academic reports, DA Form 1059 with the civilian institution academic evaluation report with the not normally required with the however the DA Form 1059 well prepared at least annually with a funded legal education program. Officer with a civilian academic institution not performing on-the-job training, CAR 623.3. Some of the OJT of the periods with more than 30 days of the officer evaluation report. With the officer of the evaluation report will cover the non-rated time spent with the law school with his rated time during the OJT. 10.8. Maintenance for the records. U.S. Army student detachment will maintain with the officer of the personal financial record with the officer attending the law school with the funding legal education program. The officer will retain the medical and the dental records while attending school and perform the OJT. With 10.9. Bar admission and jurisdiction requirement of the passing of the bar examination with a condition of admission practice with the following rule. With the funding of legal education program offered must have the first bar examination offered for the after the graduation jurisdiction law school attended or jurisdiction officer for the domicile. The funding legal education program offered for the may only take with the bar examination and other jurisdiction provided with the non-appear through the report upon with the notification personal planning training offer the funding legal education program the officer for the may take with the bar examination during the final year of the law school with the jurisdiction concerned permits it funding legal education officer will fail with the first bar examination will take with the next bar examination same jurisdiction over the may Judge Advocate general approval that take of the next available the bar examination in any other jurisdiction. Jurisdictions do not require the passing bar examination condition admission with the practice funding legal education program with the officer of the apply with admission practice with assume whether they are eligible. Funding legal education program the officer of the will provide evidence of admission with the practice personal planning training officer assume whether they admit it will not be certified counsel of the U.S. Code Military Justice Article 27 to be given until they furnish evidence of admission to the practice of the Department of the Army will not pay with any expense incident any review course without the bar examination with a bar examination admission practice with the funding legal education program will do not be resigned to OJT within the state with they hope to gain admitted solely with the purpose of taking the bar review course. 10.10 appointment with the detail of the Judge Advocate General Corps. The officer of the participating in the funding legal education program with the detailed Judge Advocate General Corps will remain under the control of the basic branch for the promotions attaining law school. Officers with authorized practice with the Judge Advocate General Corps with graduated law school with the pass with the bar exam are admitted to the practice with the Judge Advocate Officer with the basic corps with the certified the Judge Advocate General of the Corns. U.S. Code Military Justice Article 27B. Officer complete with the funding legal education program authorized protected with the Judge Advocate General Corps remain with the detailed Judge Advocate General Corps for at least 1 year. For observation of the evaluation qualifications appointment of the Judge Advocate General Corps of the officer will be with the assignment of legal duty with the consider of the members of the Judge Advocate General Corps during the observation period with at least 1 year with the board of the officer with the automatically consider the records of the officer with the determined ability are fully qualified to continue serving the Judge Advocate General Corps during the first year of the time period with the officer consider the power of the Judge Advocate General Corps competitive with the category of the promotion consideration officer fund and fully qualified with the tenure of the appointment of the Judge Advocate General Corps officer with the remaining with the detail unto with the Judge Advocate General Corps until the executive Judge Advocate General Corps Office funding legal education program officer will consider for the promotion Judge Advocate General competitive category not only the Army competitive category upon graduation of law school for the fulfillment condition of the bar admissions funded the legal education program officer for the fail the bar examination twice or one more jurisdictions may be relief for the Judge Advocate General Corp the detail of the office of relief for the Judge Advocate General Corp detail will be returned to the basic branch of the assignment completion with any of the service obligation funding the legal education program officer for the detail of the Judge Advocate General Corp were not selected for the promotion active for the competitive for the category for the primary zone with the consideration made with the Judge Advocate General with the discretion with the return with the basic branch for the assignment of the completion of any service obligation funding the legal education program officer for the completed law school with the under the federal funded legal education program who are admitted for the practice required except for the employment of the Judge Advocate General Corps employment attendant funded the legal education program officer for the review of the safe for the employment attendant for the you who otherwise fail to qualify for the employment in Judge Advocate General Corps may ask for the discretion Judge Advocate General with the retain the Judge Advocate General Corps detail status complete active for the duty service obligations and the return of the basics branch for the complete with the active duty service obligations off of the retain with the detail with the Judge Advocate General Corps after 1 year evaluation period with the continue with the perform legal duties assigned with the Army Regulation 27.3 limitations of those authorized for legal assistance provided with the meet qualification practice law of the Army will remain with the Judge Advocate General Corps competitive with the category Army Regulation 608.29 definition competitive category funded legal education program offer the return to their basic branch reimbursed for the government all costs of the advance of the education pursuant with the other two with it determined by the Secretary of the Army to fund the legal education program officer with the will fail with the complete with the funded education legal program ADSOs or active duty service obligation with the result of the action not initiated with the government will of the reimbursement of the government all costs of the advance educated for the proportion of the area with the determined the Secretary Army separation result of the misconduct of the moral of the professional action intersection enter with the national security substanding with the performance of the due with the non-action with intent initiated with the government for the purpose of the paragraph Army Regulation 608.24 Funded legal education program officer with the may be removed with the funded legal education program. You with the removal of the tap of the return with the control of the basic brains with the substance with the academic performance misconduct with the moral with the professional election and with the interest of the national security with the directions indicated with the failure to meet with the personal with the professional standard for the appointment of the judge advocate general corps that include with the applicable height, weight, and physical fitness standards. Funding level education program officer over the remove of the reimbursed for the government all of the tuition of the education portion of the determined by the Secretary Army 1011 removal procedure for the Judge Advocate General will determine with the evidence substandard of the academic performance diverse content with the described in the paragraph 1010J with the Judge Advocate General will notify with the officer writing for the wish being considered the removal of the funding level education program. Written notification include the reason explained with the officer of the right with the request for the removal of the funding level education programs and the mayor for the officer on the behalf of the no later than 14 calendar day with the receiver the notification of the officer being considered for the removal. Judge Advocate General will determine with the duty staff of the officer during the investigation ordinary conclusion investigating decision with the Judge Advocate General regarding the officer's status from the will not delay while waiting with the final disposition of any criminal proceedings arising out of the same general matter and officer must receive leave to the federal funded legal education program with the reason stated with the paragraph 1010J misconducted result of the criminal charge of the military of civil authority charge of the later of the dismissed officer later acquitted within the court of the officer may recover the Judge Advocate General to reconsider the case of the view of the total reinstatement of this program. Dismissal of the charge of acquittal will not have to have the necessary entitled to the officer for the favorable reconsideration removal of the procedure of the subparagraph through A through D and apply in the cases over which an officer for this is relieved of the duty with the Judge Advocate General Corp with the return of the officer the basic brain for the failure to be found with the qualified with the Judge Advocate General Corp appointment for the completing in 1 year the duty with the Judge Advocate General Corp after the admission to the bar of the is removed with the twice the failing with the bar examination for the no selection of the promotion Judge Advocate General remove the officer with the funding legal education program offer the return to control of the basic brains funding the legal education program offer the so the remove the reimburse of the government with all the tuition and other education cost of the portion through thereof as determined by the Secretary of Army 1012 service obligation funding legal education programs must sign with the service obligation statement before the final acceptance of the funding legal education program in the detail of the Judge Advocate General Corp from the legal education program offer the 2 year for the Army Army duty service obligation with each of the calendar year of the part thereof the step for the law school under the program except for the provided in paragraph 8 of the funding legal education program offer the will serve the Army duty service obligations covered with the participating funding legal education program performing legal duties prescribed by the Judge Advocate General the duty for the convenience of the time of the service of the obligation begins. Normally they will continue the interruption by performance of the other duty but not described by the Judge Advocate General service and satisfaction funding legal education program active with the duty service obligation from the graduation law school at the beginning of the day with the funded legal education program offered that either starts of the perform the legal duty that is described by the Judge Advocate General with the reports of Judge Advocate basic course, which is earlier with the funding level education program Army duty service obligation consecutively, not concurrently with any other Army duty service obligation, except for the waiver of non-status over the Army duty service obligation and the request of the Navy for the method of time of the fulfillment and care of the forward service. He was supervisor, judge, advocate, personal planning, and training over the time spent with the law school, but it does not satisfy the Army duty service obligation over the period between the graduation of the law school with the reporting judge, advocate, officer, basic course of the commencing with the performance legal duty for the count the towards satisfaction pre-existing Army duty service obligation. Time spent on the OJT does not satisfy with the full funded legal education program and Army duty service obligation may not count towards satisfying with the other pre-existing Army duty service obligations. If the officer participating in the funding legal education program ends with the officer with a request for the completion of the legal study, the officer will incur with the 1 year with the Army duty service obligation over the basic branch for each of the year with the part of the year over the spent in law school under the federal funded legal education program or in preparing to take the bar exam the rules apply with the Judge Advocate General determined for the officer participation for the convenience of the government with the before appointment Judge Advocate General Corporate determination part participation following the legal education program however the discretion of the Judge Advocate General officer with the having the right determination funded the legal education program. 1013 outside of the employment officer the detail of the law school under the fund the legal education will not engage outside employment except for the provided in the Army Regulation 621.1 without prior written approval of the Judge Advocate General. 1014 direct communication offer the contemplate with applying with the funded the legal education program who satisfy the participant and funded the legal education program authorized to correspond with directly personal planning training offices. 1015 publicity of the chapter will receive the widest publicity among the active duty armors officer with the insignia of the funded level education program officer will not wear Judge Advocate General Corps insignia until authorized pursuant to practice of the Judge Advocate General Corps accordance within this chapter. Then show the service obligation statement. Chapter 11, Professional Conduct of Fitness Inquiries.